So what's more important? Filling a need, finding the best talent available, or finding the best fit? In some ways, they can be related. In other ways, they can clash. Welcome to the Arena in the Boardroom, Sports Minds, People Focus. Today, we're going to touch on some philosophical points that come with building any team in sports or in business. As it comes to personnel selection, you are likely going to fall within one of these categories. But first, as always, a drink. It is called a twin mint. Peppermint schnapps and peppermint tea. It can be served hot or cold, and as always, the recipe is in the description. Okay, let's explore these categories. When we talk about need, it is redundant. You wouldn't be looking to hire somebody if there wasn't a need, but recognize what having a need and filling a position based off of a need are, and they are two very different things. When you need something, there can be a tendency to reach for it, for something that may fill the need, but not necessarily sustain or support it long term. Think about that for a second, and around that, think about the implications. You're short-staffed at your company. You have a job opening, but not many applications. You interview a few people. None of them are great, but because you need somebody, you are going to just hire the best of the worst. You have a need, and you're filling that position based off of that need. Well, what happens next? In this scenario, your new hire doesn't work out. You end up going through the onboarding process only for them to start unreliably, stay unreliable, and the relationship ends in less than a month. Or worse, you're saddled with a headache because you need the body. Need creates inherent desperation because when you boil it down, it's survival. What do we need as people? Think about your needs to survive, and if any of those were threatened, what would you do to secure them once again? In business, it's money and production. When you need someone, you are wired to find someone, and we will circle back to that in a bit. So what about fit? This should feel nice and cozy because fit is a very comfortable word. That new pair of shoes fits. Dress or pants fit. Those dishes in the dishwasher, they all fit perfectly. Seriously, if the idea of a fit doesn't give you the same feeling as chewing a piece of 5 gum does, I really can't help you. But how do you measure fit? The answer is we can't because fit is independent. When we're looking for people to be in our lives or organizations, you want there to be some level of alignment. Most employees fail simply because it's a poor fit between them and the company that they're working for, but that is part of the process. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. What you want to do, though, is try to realize it's a poor fit before you get too deep into things and you either have to admit your mistake or worse, get stuck settling into it. This goes back to the need aspect. You as a company may have a need and you may want it filled immediately. You as a prospective employee might have a need and you also want it filled immediately. Both of you decide that you're going to try and make it work despite the difference, and you, my friends, have found yourselves in a very dysfunctional relationship. I don't just do sports, I do people. But think about it. My mom always told me that peace at any cost is no peace at all. Someone is conceding something, and at a certain point, it builds into dissatisfaction, and it later builds into resentment, neither of which are healthy to hold on to. So while fit is ideal, it takes a process to identify it. It's difficult because the other extreme is only wanting people that fit a certain template. The whole square peg, round hole argument. That doesn't work either because you heavily limit the pool of people you can engage. There's a balance, and when you strike it and find that fit from any vantage point, it is cathartic. Next one, best available. So this is a closely aligned sports philosophical note because in sports, we are wired to collect talent, regardless of composition. We will make it work, just give us something fun to tinker with. What this practice means is we may not have a need, but this individual is so special, we are going to find a way to use them even if there may not be a fit based off of team composition. Is it dangerous? Yes, because it can be gratuitous, but if you are in this position, you are likely doing something well as an organization because you get the chance to just add an amazing piece of talent to the team. The dangers lie with both the company and that person who is extremely talented, though. The company could ruin team chemistry by adding an unnecessary piece to an already functioning unit. The person who has that experience, they could have their experience tainted because it may be difficult to get what's promised to them based off of everything else being taken care of. There are many ways to look at this, but it is an advantageous position to be in as it allows for a greater range of team building and development. Think about it like this. You've already gone through a hiring cycle, positions are filled, and your work is done. A week later, you get an email from somebody, a student, prospective employee, whoever, that represents a unique and specialized skill set that no one on your team has, but is also not needed at the time because you don't have something applicable for them to do at the moment. What do? The easy answer is to give them the generic rejection email and tell them, sorry, you just don't have anything for them at the time. Or you could do an informational interview on this person. What if they have some other skills that could be uncovered? What if they have upside that's unlike anyone that's on your team? Now you have a dilemma because you put in the legwork, and if you let them get away, you could be letting somebody else capitalize on a potential game changer. Or you could bring them in and it completely fails and they don't get to use their skill set, and it's a very awkward experience for everybody because it doesn't quite fit. You can also settle as well. They were the best available and we'll just take them, a weird mix between need and want. So how are these all connected, right? Where this philosophy comes in, it's rooted in sports. Listen to how teams talk, especially when it comes to player acquisition. Teams rarely talk about their needs because that gives up leverage. When a team has a need and they get desperate to fill that need, they can make a bad deal. They can spend too much money and they could end up with a player that may not warrant filling that need. Bad contracts get handed out all the time in these leagues, and many are for need-based reasons, positional needs, needs for relevance or perceived star power. Then, those teams in a year or two are stuck with that contract and a player that has no incentive to give any money back, nor should they, and you have to just recycle and start over again. The dangers of operating from the perspective of need can cost people a ton of money and jobs as well. Fit. Coaches talk about fit all the time. Culture fit, scheme fit. We want our guys. It matters because of the comfortable familiarity. Creating a culture where you create an environment where people fit, and again, fit is a specialized metric based on different factors. Best available in sports is most related to the draft. Teams always say when they make a pick, they were the best available player on our board at the time, which is code for we're not telling you whether or not they were our first choice. They were just what was the best available for us at that time. It's cover, but again, if there's a team like, say, the Philadelphia Eagles who are in the position they're in, their board can literally determine who is the best available, and they can select purely based on that metric. So if we move into my general 3 perspectives, where does that fit personally as an employee, as a company, and for yourself? How is it applied, and how can you put those safeguards in place as it relates to human capital? From my personal perspective, I do not like operating from the need or best available option. I prefer to fit in everything that I do. When I was building teams, I looked for certain traits based off of what I would be asking them to do. I looked for certain traits that would allow me to fit certain aspects to them within the broader shell of what was being built. To me, I would rather be in a space where I get paid less, but I'm more personally aligned with the environment. Case in point, where I'm at now. The feeling of needing something despite being aware of it makes you panic, and at some point, I have been there. The reason I was able to be unemployed for almost 5 months was because I could. Did it hurt my soul to see the money that we had saved start to dwindle? Absolutely. But I felt empowered because I knew I didn't need to settle for a role and I could wait. If my search had dragged on a little longer, perhaps I would have had to do something different. But I didn't, and that's because I kept myself out of the position of needing to. Now, I speak for myself. I am in no way giving you specific advice on life, but I will say if you can limit your reliance on factors outside of your control, it maximizes your ability to fit into the spaces that you want to. Now, kind of with me, but I'm going to project this out. As an employee, this concept is a lot more applicable. Think about the 3 categories. Need. We all need to work if we want to live. If you don't need to work to live, please come on the show and share your secrets because none of us want to work. But within that, think about your needs rather than just your need to work. The nuance here will help you. Do you need benefits? Do you need an easy commute because you've got kids? Your needs make up the overall need, and in a different episode, we'll cover that a little bit more, but if you're searching for work, think about the needs you have as a whole. Fit. There's that word again. It's so comfy, just like a blanket. This for you as an employee is what you should strive for. Don't you want to feel like you fit in? Work is a societal element of society, and feeling out of place in a place that you are relying on is a miserable feeling in its own right. It's hard enough because it means you have to wait a little longer for it, but I promise if you are intentional about your process, you can find the proper fit. Best available from this vantage point feels a lot like settling. This is the best available at this time, but don't let that limit you from finding what you want in the future. Collect the experience, vocalize that you may want more or better than your current situation, and go back out in the market and look for the right situation for you. Now the organization. You have all of the control, so if you screw this up, you are just being poorly run. Your needs are based on multiple factors, the market, the demand, or anything else you determine that you feel like you need. Having that level of control means you don't have an excuse to be in a bad way as it relates to human capital. No excuse, but let's dive into the elements of the needs from the company perspective. In the last few years, people have shown a much greater willingness to demand more from their employer. From social responsibility, pay, safer work conditions, oh my goodness, how dare they? But because of this, your needs as an organization as it relates to people is now a lack thereof. But this is your own doing. Turnover is high for a few reasons, some of what I listed above, but also your failure to adapt to the current conditions. Acknowledging that you need to change and actually changing are two different things, and prospective employees can see that difference. Now you find yourselves in many industries literally hiring for need, just to fill gaps and shifts and to simply provide a service. That's a major shortcoming, and you deserve your circumstances if this is you as an organization. Fit from the company perspective is exactly what you should be looking for. People that fit, people that can move your mission forward. If you have a sales team, you want money-hungry sharks that can get the job done. Pick any example. Just know that you have all the leverage here because you ultimately have to hire them into a position. If you know what you want, how you want it, and choose to divert from that and it fails, again, that's on you for being stupid. Think about your priorities and what you ultimately want from your workforce. If your goal is innovative minds, hire younger and visionary types. If you want stability, aim to get people who maybe just started families and don't plan on moving anytime soon. Every employee has a type if you're doing a proper evaluation of them. How that works is up to you, but you do have the option to say yes or no. Bad hiring because of a bad fit, again, there is no excuse. Best available from the company perspective is a double-edged sword. A great asset can turn on you as well. Don't get it twisted. Talent is talent, and I'm of the mindset if you have the chance to get talent in your building, you do it, and you see what you can get from them. But talent costs money, costs time, and it can potentially upset a balance that has been built. What role they carve out is up to you, but you are responsible for making sure there is a plan in place for it. Make sure everyone's on board and making sure that it is executed flawlessly. It does not matter how talented an individual is. They cannot overcome a company's dysfunction. All right, that is a lot of words. So what does that all mean and how do we button this thing up? All three of the categories, need, fit, best available, they all work within one another. If you have a need, you're going to try to find the best available fit. That person that fits might have also been the best available and they fill a need, and the best available person might fill a need and may also be a great fit. They're all interchangeable in practice, but how is it practiced though? That is the determinant of success or failure. When you're building a team, try this. Identify your needs and areas of weakness or areas that need to improve. Work to fill them gradually. Managing personnel is supposed to be an active process. When I looked at my roster, I knew who was graduating, and I knew who in real time I was going to probably look to replace or where I needed additional bodies or depth on my team. It's an active process because everything is variable. The worst thing in the world is to be caught with a need in a key position. That is a sign of a lack of preparedness that comes back to bite everyone. Can you plan for everything? No. But can you position yourself to survive a catastrophic event to your team? Yes. In a nutshell, that's my research. Can you take an NFL personnel model and apply it to a professional setting? I believe the answer is yes. How an NFL team works to acquire players year-round, from the draft to training camp to the season, the off-season. The players on the team, other teams in college, and even in high school are all constantly being scouted and evaluated just so they can be prepared in the event that they might have a need or a chance to acquire that player. They know who fits, and they can pick the best player available to fill that spot at that time. All right, that's all I got. I'm out. Talk to you next time.